Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. We are talking the U today. Miami is up to number 4 in the AP poll. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. We were not going to stay up late after the playoff rankings. Kelly, myself, whoever I am, I'm running on no sleep, and Mac probably the same. But I just wanted to preface it by saying we're recording this before the playoff rankings. So we're going to have some debate and discussion about it, but then you'll already know what it is. So we'll just see if we predict it and get it right, Mac. But we're talking Miami today, and we have a big time guest. Mac had to handle this. We did this interview on Monday when I was up in Bristol at ESPN doing basketball stuff all day. So Mac handled this amazingly. Mac Restrepo, he's back. He is really one of our favorite guests.
He really is. So good. So, it's one of those things, KG, where you have to like pry it out of him to talk about himself. And I kept saying that. You guys will hear that here in a second where I'm just like, all right, X, we're going to talk about you for a second right here. And literally the first thing he says, well, I have to give credit to my teammates. I'm like, gosh, I get it, bro. But that's how good of a player he is. That's how good a leader and just man and all of that, which you love to see. It's a great attribute. But he's the real deal. Coming off a record-setting performance, the most receiving yards in history for the University of Miami. You think of the names, the list is crazy. Unbelievable. Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, elite talent all over that place. And Xavier Restrepo, numero uno, number one. And he said, let's make it unbreakable. Like, we got some more games. Let's make that thing never so it can be touched. He's going to break a couple more records before it's said and done. Maybe this next game here this weekend against Georgia Tech. But he was amazing. You guys are going to love this interview. We're going to have a message from our friends over at Ingles quickly. And then we're going to talk some Hurricanes after this. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Heisman's, playoffs, championships, schedule. We're talking all of this. So here quickly, message from our friends at Ingles. Let's get into it.
Did you know Ingles only sells USDA Choice and Prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Xavier Restrepo, man, welcome back. Great to see you. Fresh off of a record-setting performance. I want to start there, and I know you're a team guy. I totally get it. You're just like I was back in the day. Everything's about your guys and that logo on your chest, on your helmet. But I do want you to focus on you for 1 second and just reflect how amazing it is. Number one in Hurricane history over Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss, Andre Johnson. The list is unbelievable. What is that like for you, my brother?
Right now, for sure. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for having me. Secondly, again, like you said, I do want to mention my team, but I mean, it's something that, I've worked my whole life for, and I'm not whatsoever satisfied. I'm actually just, again, while within the team success, trying to make the record unbreakable, so I'm going to try to keep on climbing. I'm not ever going to be satisfied because I'm hungry. I'm starving, so I've had food taken off my plate ever since I was a young kid. So I'm going to keep on, being determined, keeping God first and just having faith.
I love that, man. What do you think this does, though, for, little kids that look up to you, little kids in the area that maybe think, man, I've got no shot to do something like this? I mean, what kind of story and inspiration do you hope that you are for that guy, for that kid that, as you just mentioned, maybe people counted out or thought he couldn't do something?
No doubt, no doubt. The first thing I would say is miracles do come true. You don't have to ever be, big enough or fast enough. You just have to have, again, unshakable faith and, determination that nobody else, wherever you're at, for me, it was like nobody could guard me. Nobody is going to work as hard as me wherever I'm at, I would tell my friends, sometimes walking with them in the mall, I'm like, dude, like nobody in this mall could guard me and stuff like that. So, again, just have confidence in yourself. It's not cockiness, it's having confidence. Having confidence is good, you definitely don't want to be someone that doesn't have self-confidence and stuff like that. But again, I think that's where faith jumps in and allows you to be confident, not cocky, and be that humble beast.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the football? Where's that? Did you get it? Did you secure it? Do you have the record setter?
Oh, I didn't let that thing go for sure.
Smart. Smart.
Cristobal gave it to me after the game,
Good.
and I haven't let go of it yet.
I love that so much, man. All right, well, let's. I'm going to stay on you for one more second, and then we can get to the team. I know you're sick of talking about yourself, but you've had so many catches in your career. You've had so many big plays. Just it's fun to reflect on these massive milestones. Do you have one that sticks out? Just of all time, because you're coming up on that too. All-time receptions leader, which maybe you're tied or you're close to it. I think next game you're probably going to have that all to yourself. So, is there a catch that you remember that's just like, that's the one? That's the catch of the career that, when you're getting in the Hall of Fame and things like this, they're going to be playing that when that happens.
I would say, obviously my first ever catch, at Duke, 2020, I caught like a little bang route from Derek. But probably the next year, first game of the season versus Alabama, the touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to beat those. And how ironic, your first catch ever was against Duke. You become the all-time receiving leader in yards against Duke. What a full story, full circle type of moment there. All right, we can stop talking about you. I know you're sick of that anyway. Let's jump into these Hurricanes, man. And I have to start with your quarterback because it's just like every week he just impresses everybody, and he does stuff that you don't think he can do. He makes these unbelievable plays where you just sit there, and I'm scratching my head watching y'all on TV like, how, Cam, how are you doing this? What have you just continued to see from him? Because it's been a couple weeks since I've talked to you, and he's square in the race for Heisman. He's the favorite right now, or tied for the favorite. What does he continue to show you guys?
He continues to show us that, he is the best player in the entire, college football. And, continues to show that he's a magician, that he just does a whole bunch of things. And, the thing that sticks out to me about him is that he never gets satisfied, too. A guy that, has as much success as he does and as much recognition as he does, to be able to want to, be perfect and chase perfection. I think that's what sticks out to me the most, because he's just like me when it comes to competition. He wants to win everything. If something, if we're doing like a little game and if something doesn't go his way, like, no, like we made that rule or whatever like that, So I think just the competitiveness out of him each and every single week, no matter who we play and no matter what time we're at, he just wants to, like destroy and dominate his competition.
It's a great quality to have for a quarterback, right? A guy that literally can control the entire game. What was the messaging on the sideline? Because or at halftime even, because you guys started super hot. We're just sitting there like, okay, well, here it goes. We thought this might be a game. Now it's about to be a blowout. And then Duke, just rallies and makes it really interesting. They go up with the lead at halftime. What was the messaging? What was that like? What was just kind of y'all's conversation with each other? Because then you exploded, like the offense went nuclear, and I'll talk about that too, but something happened where you guys just woke up.
No doubt. Our emphasis was starting fast, these last couple of weeks, and we've been doing so. I feel like we got a little complacent, and again, going back on, trying to play a full football game and trying to put a full game together. Again, another week we have yet to do so. We weren't executing well after the second drive. We were, just missing easy, basically what our coaching staff says is, routine plays executed at an elite level makes big plays, So I feel like we were failing to do so. And then when we locked back in and started doing plays that we run every single week, when we started executing well, even perimeter blocking, we picked that up in the second half, and we were just trying to dominate those dudes, And versus a good football team like Duke, it's you can't slouch and still dominate. You have to come to work prepared, and you have to execute at a very high level. And that's what we did in the second half. That was different than the first half or after the second drive. We did not do that. So
you talk about that, that confidence and having that with your offense. You're just talking about the adjustments that you guys made. What does that do for you guys? Like to know, hey, okay, we might be in a bad situation, but we've got this guy and we have us and we have these offensive linemen, these playmakers where we can explode and go nuclear, just mindset wise. Does it kind of give you guys the confidence that you're never out of any type of fight?
No doubt. I mean, with this team, I think our greatest trait, our number one greatest trait, is that we are so resilient that no matter what is thrown at us, we can fight back, and we could basically in the middle of a game when we weren't doing our stuff, like everybody on that sideline knew that, Duke was showing everything they showed on film, that they weren't stopping us, that we were stopping ourselves. And we have a mindset that the only team that could beat us in the country is us. So
right.
I know that the whole entire team knows that. And once we, put that to action, that's when we started picking back up. But yeah, I mean, we know that, it all comes down to execution at the end of the day.
Right. Last couple of things for you, man, and we'll let you get out of here. Just the rest of the way moving forward. You just mentioned there that, Miami's the only team that can beat us. And that's exactly the way that I felt, when I was playing and when we were doing our thing and, firing on all cylinders there. But you mentioned, not having played a full game or a complete game, yet offensively. What does that look like? I mean, how do you get to that level? How do you execute that? Because again, I know there's that striving for perfection and we can never reach it, right? It's always out of grasp. But, where will there be a moment where you're like, that was a good game? Like we did well there.
It's hard to say, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe one where you're holding the big trophy at the end.
Maybe that day. I mean, the immediate goal, I think right now, the short-term goal is we want to try to score each and every single drive, each and every single opportunity that we get. But then even then is like, why did we score in 7 plays and not 4 plays? So again, that's the best thing about our team is we just keep on trying to improve each and every single week on Green Tree, and just try to chase perfection.
Yeah, I love that. All right, last one, and it's about you. And I lied. I said we weren't going to talk about you anymore. There's this little trophy out there that they give for the best receiver in the country, and I think you should be square on top of that race and the consistency that you've had throughout your entire career. But this year in particular, being the best weapon with the best team and the best quarterback has to matter and should matter to people. What would that mean to you to be awarded or to be in that conversation to win the Biletnikoff?
I appreciate you a lot. And I mean, I feel like, obviously with our team success and everything, with my consistency, and I don't like to talk about myself, but I mean, I've put in the work. I've put in the work, and I wouldn't be mad if I got the trophy at the end of the year.
That's right. Well, make a little room. Make a little room, maybe.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, hey, brother, I appreciate you always. Excited to see you guys the rest of the way, and keep getting after it.
Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much.
Mac, thanks again to Xavier Restrepo for joining us here on the pod. And this podcast is also brought to you in part by Underdog Fantasy. Use our code GMPOD. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And it's funny that we have X on the pod today because he is the guy, I would argue, the most reliable player to go with on Underdog in the ACC this season has been Xavier Restrepo. He is fourth nationally in receiving touchdowns. So you can go with the touchdown one. You can go yards, but he performs basically every given night. Little bit of an off game against Florida State, but that game was a blowout. Beyond that, Restrepo is going to show up. So, hey, if you're looking for a pick this week, I would look at X. He's always someone I'm considering when I'm scrolling on that app, Mac.
That's a great point. He's going to make it happen. He's that good of a player. And you just we've heard it from Cam. We've heard it from him. How good of a guy he is, how reliable he is. Again, I mentioned the Biletnikoff at the end of it there, KG, with him and what that would mean to him. I think he's square in that race. Now, I get, when you look at, a single season and you see, okay, McMillan out at Arizona, he's got a lot of yards. He's got over 1,000 yards, and X is right nearly at 900. That guy gets the ball every play. X has 3 other dominant receivers with him. So I think there's something to do of, like, you can't just look at the box scores every time, or you can't just look at the stats and be like, oh, yeah, clearly it's the best guy. Because if that's the case, give the Heisman to Ashton Genty, give the Doak Walker to Ashton, all these different things. So for me, I think if you really dive into it, you look at a guy who impacts his team, who's winning, who is arguably, again, if you give him the same amount of targets that other guys get, the stats would be nuts. And he always delivers. He's consistent as all get out. He's going to play in the NFL for a long, long time. But it was a pleasure talking with him as always, and he's grateful to give us his time.
And of course, there's the Travis Hunter aspect of that award too. So the hype with him, he's played a few less games than Restrepo, but their numbers are pretty darn similar. And Restrepo, what he's doing for a team that's this good, right? That's what these other guys who are in this discussion don't have. And that's a similar argument that people are making for Cam Ward, right? The way he's come to Miami, transformed this program into a team that's undefeated, that's looking to finish undefeated, something they haven't done in a very long time. And his impact, the way he's changed the program, is part of his Heisman case. Mac, he has officially moved into the favorite at post week 10. He has the best Heisman odds at plus 185. He's second nationally in passing yards. He leads the nation in passing touchdowns, which is a big stat there. Travis Hunter and Dylan Gabriel are tied with the second best odds at plus 275. Let's take this a bit further here. Let's look at remaining schedule because we're going to talk about Miami's remaining schedule. Miami has Georgia Tech, bye week, Wake Forest, Syracuse. 2 of those games on the road, at Georgia Tech, at Syracuse. What I think bodes well for Cam Ward is when you look at Travis Hunter and you look at Dylan Gabriel, they also don't have great schedules remaining. Oregon, all they have left is Maryland, Wisconsin, and Washington. The brutal Big Ten strikes again, Mac. They've got those 3 teams. Colorado has 4 games left. They have Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. But you don't have a massive game left. You don't have Oregon and Ohio State playing again, right? You don't have Colorado. Maybe a BYU would be an example for the highest ranked team in the Big 12. You don't have that. So all 3 of these candidates have very similar schedules remaining. And then when it comes to Oregon and Miami, this is a bigger picture discussion, but I want your thoughts on this because I think Dylan Gabriel is probably the biggest competitor right now for Cam Ward from a quarterback position. The strength of schedule for Oregon and Miami so far this season, and as we just said, similar remaining strength of schedule, Oregon ranks 45th, Miami ranks 46th. Basically the same. And then strength of record, Oregon is second, Miami is third. So you can't go out here and be disingenuous and say, well, Dylan Gabriel's played a harder schedule because that is just not true.
Right.
So that's my initial thoughts
right.
there, Eric McLean.
Come on. Lay out some facts, KG. And again, I think just the way that they do it, just totally different, right? I mean, I don't think there's any question that when you see Cam Ward and you see the things that he's done, and both are older guys. It's not like we're talking about a rookie and a vet here. So they've both been doing this, a long time. They're older dudes. It's just different, the things that he brings to the table, the way he, handles his, business has been very impressive. And the numbers, I mean, they just speak for themselves with what he's able to do and how he's able to get the ball out to his guys. And, I think that the timing of it is important too. Like when does this thing, open and close? Typically the Heisman voting, it closes either the Sunday or the Monday after the championship game. So I hope and pray that, everyone will wait accordingly, see all the games, have all the data possible, before, voting. And I know there's some recency bias that can sneak into that. If one guy has a really bad game and another has a great, does that change at all? A couple of years ago or last year even, Jaden Daniels isn't even playing in that game. And so you don't have that kind of last measurement or data point, to put in there, but his overall play was just so good. So that's what I'm interested to see, KG. How much does timing and recent, kind of this last stretch, what does that kind of do for them and what does it look like?
Right. But the point is, it doesn't feel like either guy, the schedule isn't going to benefit either guy more. They're pretty similar,
Correct.
The remaining schedules for both these teams. Mac, when we talk about Miami and their remaining schedule, I looked this up from ESPN's different metrics. Miami has a 92.6% chance to make the playoff. That sounds like perhaps a guarantee. Of course, as I say that, you know that my husband calls me the biggest jinx of all time. So I'm going to try not to say anything that's jinxy. They have a 62.4% chance to win the ACC. They have a 42.8% chance to win out. So they have a higher, double the chance to make the playoff than they do to win out. I thought that was very interesting. So here's kind of my crazy question, Mac. Do you see any way that Miami loses any of these final 3 games? And if they do, are they still in?
Yeah. Right. You can't lose 2 of them, I don't think.
No.
Whether that's, one of the 3 regular schedule and an ACC championship game. If you do that, then probably not. You're probably not making it. But there's probably a little insurance. There's probably a little leeway having 12 teams, and not having to be perfect and, all those different things with this expanded playoff. But when you look at it, starting this weekend against Georgia Tech, just looking at the matchup predictor that ESPN.com, kind of has here, 77% they think they're going to win that. The spread is 11, so they think that's going to be a relative blowout there. Wake Forest, it jumps up to 96.8 that they think they're going to beat those guys. So that's kind of a bye week, if you will. And then at Syracuse, 87. So, it is overwhelming favorites to close out the deal here. And even in the ACC championship, I'm sure that number, especially with the matchup predictor, is going to be really one-sided towards the Hurricanes. So when you see that and you see the path, you're like, yeah, this is looking really good. And it's exciting because, as Xavier Restrepo just said a couple of minutes ago, KG, this team has not played a complete game. They haven't played 60 minutes of really nice, clean, high executing, football. And so that's fun to me to just think that this team can get better, to see that maybe they have a ceiling that, can continue to just be punched down and get through where they are right now. And so, I think if the defense cleans it up like a couple of percent, I'm not saying you have to totally flip, and be this dominant, can't run on us, can't do anything on us type defense. But if they can just clean it up a little bit, and maybe even it's just a tackling thing, just get guys on the ground, be in the right place type of deal, this team's going to be really, really good. We've said for a long time now, I think they can win a national championship. We said way back in preseason, if you think Miami can win an ACC championship, you need to think bigger and think that they can be in a national championship. And that has fully come to light and come true in recent weeks here.
For sure. And I think, funny enough, I think Miami can lose a regular season game, win the ACC and get in. And I think they can go undefeated, lose the ACC and get in. So I think those 2 things can happen. They, like you said, they can't lose to Georgia Tech and then lose the ACC title. They're not getting in at that point. So it's funny because you have some leeway. But do you want that double bye? That's the big question mark for Miami. And that's, of course, what you want. Mac, the game to me that I think is the most, none of them are concerning, but the game that's the most interesting, I guess, is probably Georgia Tech. Because you mentioned the spread. Miami was a 19.5-point favorite against Georgia Tech last year. And we all know what happened. And you just have that weird history with that game. Haynes King is day-to-day. Brent Key is hopeful. That's obviously the key, no pun intended. If Haynes King plays, which it's college football, so I guess we won't know until literally the first snap, then I think it could be somewhat of a game. But if he doesn't, then we'll see. Going to Syracuse. Syracuse, they're back on track. That's a tough place to go play. I don't think it's a bunch of just straight-up cupcakes, but if you ask me, I think Miami's going to finish the year undefeated.
Yeah, I do too. And the Haynes King thing is a really big deal. That's a couple of really good, really fun quarterbacks that don't, just sit in the pocket. They move around, they do their thing. Haynes King, an eraser. He makes that team so much better. And the fact of the matter for Miami, as it's been relatively all season, but these last 3 games in particular, in the 4th in the ACC championship, these these contests will be the other team's Super Bowl. They are going to throw everything they have into this game, at this game, in regards to individual players. This is the draft tape. We spoke about that against Duke. Will Duke bounce back and play at the high level? They did for a half. Because this is the tape that everybody's going to look at, that everybody wants to see. So selfishly, from an NFL perspective, you want to play your best. But then also just to say you beat Miami, you slayed the Giant. That's what people are going to want to do. So you're absolutely going to get the best foot forward. And the hard thing is for most teams is that complacency. It can't creep in. You've got to slam it shut. This is the time, KG, in November, in these type of months where, the leaders of the team really have to push down even more and say, guys, we are so close. We literally need 2 more months of locked in focus. Don't be on social media. Don't read the press clippings. Don't be going out, all these things. lock in and we can be immortalized. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest ever. And especially at a place like Miami that has just been thirsting and hungry, for success and for championships. I mean, it's one of those things where you will live in fame for the rest of your life. So can you realize that in the moment at such a young age? I get it's hard to do it at the 18 to 22 year olds and some 24 plus. But that's what I would really be emphasizing right now is guys, we have to lock in more than ever right now.
And Mac knows. I mean, you've been there, Mac. You know what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my bold prediction here because people already know when they're listening to this podcast. So I'd want people to know we're recording this at 1:40 on Tuesday, just to confirm, so people don't think I'm cheating here. I think Miami will be number 2 in the playoff rankings that are coming out tonight.
Who's number 1?
Yeah,
you think it's Oregon, Miami?
I think Oregon's 1, Miami's 2. I think so.
Wow.
I think when you look at that strength of schedule, Miami and Oregon very similar. Strength of record, Miami and Oregon just one spot different. And I think they will give Miami credit for being undefeated. So that's my bold prediction, Eric McLean. You may ask, where's Clemson? No idea. Honestly, I've moved on. Where's SMU? I think SMU is a little higher. I think SMU is in that top 12. I don't know. I'm going to say top 12. Top 12. There you go, Mac.
I like that. I think that's fantastic. I hope it's true. Here's what I heard too, that'll be fun and kind of new. And I hope I'm explaining this right, but moving forward with some different graphics and things of that nature, and maybe even in the reveal show, they will have the 1 through 25, but there will also be seeding. So the highest rated ACC team will be seeded differently. So even let's say crazily, let's say Miami was 7, crazy. They would still be ranked like 3 or 4, with that seeding.
That's
if Boise State, whatever, and they're not in the top 12, they will have another ranking that is 12 for the G5 team there. So that's going to be really fun to see, as well, the teams that maybe aren't in the top 4 that have a smaller name or number by their name just because of the seeding thing. So a lot is going to come into play here. I like the prediction. I think it's fantastic. I have no clue. I've stopped trying to think how those people think because I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it'll be fun to see.
What happened last year? So. Redeem yourselves, committee. Redeem yourselves in the eyes of Graham and McLean.
That's all new people. So it's no redeeming. It's all new. It's fresh start, new cast, and it's 12 teams. So it's brand new. It's gonna be a fun new world. But this was fun. This was great. It's always good to talk about Miami. The Canes continue to roll. We're gonna have a full breakdown of Georgia Tech Miami on Friday. As we will with the rest of these games. Small slate, but it's going to be fun and some impactful games that will continue to shape what this league looks like and what we're able to do moving forward here. So we appreciate you guys. Appreciate X, Cam, for making that happen. It was a lot of fun to get X back on the show. And we need y'all's help. We need you to go over to YouTube, subscribe, jump on this train. Miami fans, flood it up, baby. Let's see the comments. Tell us what you think. About these Canes. And if you have any worries, I'd love to hear that actually. Biggest game of the 3 left. Let us know if there's one to keep an eye on, one that's interesting to you that maybe you're not worried, but you're paying attention to. We'll see there. And of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, Sirius XM. Appreciate you guys always. But until next time, we'll see y'all.